Hello, my name is David Biale. I'm a co-editor of the Stanford series in Jewish Studies, and I'm here with Marc Volovici, who is the author of German as a Jewish Problem, The Language Politics of Jewish Nationalism, a book that has just been published recently in our series. Marc, pleasure to be speaking with you, and I would like to ask you, why is German a Jewish problem?
Well, usually when people think about Jewish history or the history of Jewish nationalism, the focus is on the quintessential Jewish languages, Hebrew and Yiddish. But if you take a more broader view of modern Jewish history and consider the multilingual dimension of it, then you see that German had a key importance there for various reasons. Basically, German was considered a language of Jewish emancipation, especially for those in Central Europe, in German principalities and the Habsburg Empire. But it also signified this promise of modernization, to some degree secularization, also beyond German-speaking lands, and was to some degree a model and a language of science, of self-education in Eastern Europe, among immigrants to the US, in Palestine. So precisely for this reason, German was considered a language that had the potential to transform Jewish life, to make it look different. So for opponents of this process that were in some cases Orthodox critics or more traditional communal leaders, but also Jewish nationalists that wanted to build an idea of Jewish nationhood around its historical language, German was a threat. So how to make sense of this dual quality of German that is also a very practical and highly esteemed language that is associated with European culture and with ideas of the Enlightenment, but also a language that to some degree signifies a potential withdrawal of Jews from their sense of Jewishness and from Jewish communal practices. So if you look at how German operated in Central and Eastern Europe since the late 18th and through the 19th and early 20th century, then you see that the German was a really foundationally important language that defined Jewish identity and Jewish politics in different ways. So what I try to show in this book, that we don't need to only look at how German-speaking Jews thought of themselves as a linguistic group, but also at German reading Jews. I mean, those who had access to German, either through Yiddish or through immigration or through learning, and for whom German was an integral part of their linguistic landscape, so to speak, and of their self-understanding.
So yeah, and of course, German eventually becomes extremely problematic when it's irredeemably polluted by the Nazis. So this is a very dramatic story indeed. And I would actually add, I'm thinking about other books that we're publishing in the series, including in this season, two other books, one dealing with the way Jewish emigres adopt French as a language, the way in which American Jewish writers adopt English as a language. And we could say that there are a variety of modern languages that really have become Jewish languages. And in that sense, this is an opening up of the question of language politics in a fascinating way. Let me ask you very briefly, why did you decide to, or how did you come to do this study?
Well, precisely through this angle that you just mentioned. Growing up in Israel, I was interested in how German encapsulates for many Israelis basically it is the language of the murderers. It's associated with Nazism. Its sound is brutal, is aggressive. I mean, the echoes are always mentioned or noted. It's part of how Israelis, but also more broadly, I mean, Jews and also non-Jews think of German in light of how it's been instrumentalized during the Nazi period. So I was drawn to understand how early attempts to understand the so-called brutality of German were formulated by survivors and non-survivors in the 50s and 60s. And I was struck by how long the trajectory that they describe of why German is a dangerous or language that is antithetical to Jewishness. And in a sense, the longer trajectories of German as a dangerous language, as a language that must be separated from the Jewish national realm, that's actually a longer history that again goes back to the divisions and tensions of Jewish life over the question of emancipation, of secularization, of Zionism, that was to some degree a German-speaking movement until the First World War and even afterwards. So even how we think today of German in light of Nazism and the Holocaust is in a sense only part of the story, and the book tries to show that actually the longer history here is extremely important.
So thank you very much, and I want to wish you the best of luck with this book, which I think opens a window into all of modern Jewish history, and it's a fascinating study. Thank you.
Very much.